Water doesn't choose sides, yet every side needs it. Our guest today is Lieutenant General Sudhir Sharma, a highly respected 3-star veteran who served India for over 3 decades and retired as Quartermaster General in charge of the logistics of the Indian Army. A distinguished military leader and strategist in command of the world's largest operational force. He was responsible for the welfare of 1.3 million soldiers across the length and breadth of the country. A highly decorated officer, General Sharma has been felicitated twice by the President of India for his exceptional leadership, devotion to duty, and service to the nation. He also represented the country as Defence Attaché in London. Since his retirement in 2008, he has transitioned seamlessly into advisory and leadership roles in the corporate world. A prolific speaker, thought leader, and geopolitical analyst, he continues to contribute to and serve global communities as a member of the advisory board and as a non-executive board member in educational institutions, Indian MNCs, and award platforms. Extremely passionate about sustainability, environment, and entrepreneurship, General Sharma is a mentor to startups and a leadership coach guiding young leaders through insights on strategy, motivation, and sustainable development. In every role, General Sharma has consistently exemplified integrity, vision, and service, dedicating his knowledge and experience to shaping a safer, more sustainable, and a progressive world. I am proud to present today the general who never retired. He only re-attired. Welcome to Waterlogues, and I am your host, Priti Agarwal. Sir, it is an absolute honor to have you on Waterlogues today.
I'm delighted to be here with you and love what you're doing and look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, we've heard the story of the great Alexander the Great and how he was brought the only available water in a helmet, which he actually poured out to display his leadership and solidarity with his soldiers.
Absolutely.
Now, you have been the commander of the Indian Army, a position of great responsibilities and challenges. We'd love to hear some stories from your personal experiences.
I would love to tell you that, but firstly about Alexander, it is the final example of, leadership by example. When Alexander poured out the water, saying that I will not drink water because my troops are thirsty. This exemplifies what an officer really is about, and we are taught this in the academy also. Now that Alexander, I must also share with you another story. When Alexander was getting across the, now the Jhelum River, then the Hypatus River, when Porus was this side, there was a 27-mile river on which Alexander's army was parked this side. And he kept moving his forces up and down the river, trying to confuse Porus from where he would actually cross over.
Okay.
He was to cross over from the south, but he went 27 miles north. On the worst part, on a stormy night, he crossed the river to attack Porus and outflank Porus, and that's how Porus lost. Okay. It was because of the river. So again, Alexander is linked to water because he crossed into India on this water channel to overtake Porus, and that's the story of Waterlogues.
Wow.
Now coming back to my experience, I will share the experiences as they go along, but my first experience I will share with you that as an army officer, as a young 16-year-old person who joined the academy to train, the first outing that we had in the training, our officer taught us a very golden lesson about water. We were all young boys, didn't know much about water. So we were to do a march for about 20 miles, which we thought was okay. But the catch was that he was given a water bottle, which had 1 liter of water. And he said, this is the only water you're going to get till you finish the walk. So we felt, okay, how does it matter, But by the time we had done 5, 7, 8, 10 kilometers in the heat, it was impossible not to need a sip of water. Now, that was a discipline because we were taught that this is the only bottle that you got. It was nearly 1 liter bottle. So you took a few sips, then you walked a few kilometers, took a sip. Till the last stages, when 4 or 5 kilometers left, most of the water bottle was nearly empty, and we were absolutely at our
Parched.
And some of the friends of mine had finished the water and they were struggling. And this is the time when we learnt how to share a bit of water. And you believe me, it's such a remembrance I've got that when you gave your bottle to a friend, knowing fully well that I'm thirsty, he would take half a sip of water, just wet his lips and give it back to you, knowing fully well that he cannot take it. And that's how we all shared drops of water till we finished, and we were all nearly dying. And last people, when we reached, all bottles were empty. 20 miles is a long way in a heat to travel one bottle. So a lesson taught to us by a leader was, water is precious for the army. Learn to conserve it, learn how to use it. Always have, at the end of the parade, some water left for you so that if you do something extra, that water can be used. So for me, right in my life, I learned the respect for water, especially drinking water, and I really know that that is the one which you got to survive on. So that's the first lesson that I learned about water.
Wow, sir, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now we know that the ecosystem depends on water, but sir, you know that the nations fight for water, and the longest documented conflict explicitly on water was from the ancient Mesopotamia, which lasted for approximately 100 years. And since then, till date, I think nations are still fighting for water. So please tell us why and how has water historically emerged as a major cause for wars?
No, you're true. It's true that water has always been a cause for war because water being scarce, especially potable drinking water, scarce for irrigation, space for drinking, and space for everything. So nations conserve it. You're talking about Mesopotamia, nearly 2,500 years before Christ, BCE. These two nation states, both had water. One had the Euphrates, one had the Tigris. So he diverted the Euphrates to his own side. And in getting angry, the king of Umma then diverted the Tigris River. And the water going to the end of their canals got dried up. They couldn't irrigate the fields. When you don't irrigate your fields, you don't get soldiers to fight the war. Because all soldiers come from the rural areas. And the war started. So it took 100 years for the war to be over till it started and finished. So water has always been an instrument of war. Let me give you another example. In 1672, when Louis XIV of France was trying to conquer entire Europe, he reached the Netherlands, the Dutch. The Dutch was a very small country, and their king, known as Sun King, William of Orange, they had this dikes. So they flooded the entire country themselves because they're a low-lying country and opened up the water sluice. So Holland became a kind of an island with water all around it. And troops of Louis XIV could not cross the water because of water. And they were smart enough to keep the water level just below boat level. So it was about 1 or 2 feet. You couldn't put anything boat inside it, but you couldn't walk through it and just slushy. And they fought this war for 1 year till they got reinforcements, so they saved themselves. In fact, there was a very good incident that one winters, the became very cold and the water froze. And they're very worried now the water is frozen, the people will be able to cross over. So by the time Louis XIV marshaled his army, it was some heat stroke came and the water again started melting, so they could not cross it. Even till today, when you go to Holland, you can find this UNESCO site, heritage site, of the flooding of the water. It's known as the water line. Wow. So water has always been a part of it. And as we go along, I tell you how many places where we have used water as an instrument of war, both for defense and for offense. So that is where the water has played a very crucial role in these things.
That's true. And narrowing down to India, sir, I think India has its own issues when it comes to war and water. So, and who could be in a better position to tell us more about it than you, sir? So please tell us more.
Look, I've served in that area, a place called Akhnur, which is on the banks of the Chenab River. As you're aware that when India and Pakistan partitioned, the treaty was formed. I think a very unfair treaty. We were very naive. That time water was plentiful, the population was very low. So we never thought that stage will come and water will be scarce. So we gave away the waters of the western rivers, Chenab, Jhelum, Indus to Pakistan, and kept the 3 rivers of Beas, Satluj, and Chenab with us. So Pakistan has always used those waters and we have not been using the water so well. That's the big bone of contention. And they know. And one of the reasons for the fight for Kashmir, I must tell you, is for the control of waters. Why China has come and sat down in the area where Pakistan has given is because the waterheads start from that area. So Pakistan's desire has always been to get hold of the water. So if they want to get Kashmir, one of the parts is they want the water to be controlled. And we will not let them do that because water is what is like water. So that's why the Indus Water Treaty is a problem. Secondly, we have a problem with Bangladesh now. Our water is flowing of the Ganga and the Tista into Bangladesh. We have built a Farakka barrage on the Ganga and Bangladesh doesn't like it because they feel the water gets diverted. Similarly, China has dammed the Brahmaputra up there with the Three Gorges Dam and the danger of water. So water becomes a very big instrument of war. Now, if China stops the water flying, it can't stop if it puts the dams there and some of the dams crack. We don't know what's happening there. We don't know what to do. We've got to fight the war. Same is the case with Pakistan, same is the case with Bangladesh. So waters is a very important part of power, and we as army people are very aware of it, and we do a lot of work to guard our headworks. The Indian Army's defenses are based upon all the dams, headworks. They should never be captured, or they should come under control of the army. And that's why people try to capture dams in war. We know where the Pakistani dams are, so we may have plans possibly to go across. They may have plans to come across, so they can control the water flow. That is where the war will lie. So it's very important as far as strategy is concerned.
Sometimes I really wish that, there were no wars and we could have found an alternative solution to these conflicts. But of course, being unrealistic maybe. But what intrigues me is that history has witnessed many wars in and around water bodies, like the banks of rivers, the beaches, sea, ocean, like the World War II Battle of Atlantic or the D-Day operation on the beaches of Normandy in France. So how did they plan it? Do they plan it according to the availability of water, or was it just a coincidence?
No, as far as the Battle of Normandy is concerned, it was not based on availability of water. It was availability of the fact that where they could have the better beaches. And if you see Normandy, it's the furthest away from the English Channel. And the Calais, where they wanted to actually give a deception of landing, is the closest way they thought they should land. So there is a lot of deception to make sure that the Germans felt that the Allied would land at that place. Actually, their plan was to land at Normandy. Reason was that the beaches there were cooler and smoother, and the troops could go to them. So that was the reason for looking for that place for where they could land. But as far as water is concerned, let me share with you that countries like India, Pakistan, lots of countries have built the complete irrigation works based upon defensive canals. Now, the Ishikal Canal of Pakistan runs parallel to the border. And they could have put a different line, but they put it along the defense line. And the scale of the river, or the architecture of the canals are so made that nobody can get in and get out of it. The walls are so designed, so it becomes a kind of a barrier. And based on that, all the Indian canals running along the Indo-Pakistan border are also defense-oriented canals. You would make sure that they run along those lines, and the embankment is such that architecture of that, so it doesn't that. So all countries do that, and because water becomes a choke point, If the river this side, the mountain this side, you have to go through that. And the flood of the rivers will make sure that you get choked. So rivers have always become a strategic point for all armies to think about where is the water. If I'm traveling this way, will the enemy release water from the dikes? You can open the water and you can flood it out, and we are stuck this side. Or will the rain and the water come away? Will the slush? So water has always played a part in understanding how forces can move over terrain, because water can stop you and that part. If there is water, if there is no water, you cannot move. So both ways, water plays a very crucial role in the armed forces thinking plan.
So they say everything is fair in love and war. Now, keeping that in mind, what are your thoughts on the weaponization of water?
I feel that, unfortunately, weaponization of water is going to take place, because water has become like any other commodity in war. Because today's war has become such that the ethos or the principles of war have changed dramatically. Wars are no longer, fought on moral grounds. They are fought on various grounds. For example, in Ukraine, Russian war just now, Russia did bomb the Kharkov dam, which broke, and then the water went to the Crimea. And there was a lot of flooding, and nearly millions of people were displaced because of water. And their armies could not move. Similarly, in other places also, they will weaponize war. For example, India has said we'll close the water treaty, we'll not let water go there. Same Pakistan or China will do. So weaponization war is the sad fact, but I think it is going to become more and more prominent. Not so much in the Western country where water is abundant, places like Canada, America, they don't have so much of water problems. But all in the northeastern countries, Vietnam, going all South Asia, potable water is a very big problem, and therefore people will fight for it. You are aware that people are fighting within states only. Delhi and Gurgaon are fighting, Tamil Nadu, and they'll fight. So waters of Kaveri, waters of Mahanadi, waters of Jamuna, water is such a scarce and precious commodity. People will fight for it. Villagers will fight for it. They'll fight for a pot of water, because that is life. So you're basically fighting for life. So weaponization of water is inevitable. Sad fact, but it will be true.
True, sir. Very true. So, looking back into your remarkable journey, do you remember any war or a mission where you had to deal with a water-related situation, and how did you mitigate that?
Two incidents come to mind straight away.
Sure.
India and Pakistan have a line of control, especially in Jammu and Kashmir. I was posted at Poonch. I was one of the brigade majors, they call them. and Pakistan was opposite side. And it was early days, I'm talking about the 70s, I'm talking about 80s. So at one day I got a message that Pakistan has raised a flag. They raise a white flag on all the posts and they start waving it, which means they're inviting us for a flag meeting, we call it.
Okay.
So white flags came up on all the posts and they were in a dominating position. They used to sometimes fire at us. We are in a position where slightly not a good position there in Poonch area. So we also put up the flag. So a message came, person walks across with a letter that says that we'd like to meet your commander, and we fix up a time. Okay, so we were at a meeting. So I, along with my delegation of 7-8 people, went across to Pakistan, which means we crossed into their territory, and they had set up their tents and very good lavish arrangements. It's generally planned. And they asked for a meeting, and 4 of the officers came, and we came. I said, what's the problem? They said there is a water channel known as the 33-knot canal, I'll use the word, which used to irrigate the waters of Pakistan and India together from the Poonch River. Okay. The canal runs through Indian territory and enters Pakistan territory. Before partition, there used to be a normal water channel irrigating both the rivers. Now it has gone into disuse, and because of which water could not flow into Pakistan. Now all the villagers in that area had agitated and told the Pakistani army officers, okay, we must get the water. He said, I can do nothing about it, the water is coming from Indian side. So he came and requested me, he said, sir, that you are, so a lot of, flattery and all, that you are also a soldier and you understand the poor people that do so. So I said, look, we are happy to share water with you, but you people are firing at our people, so we cannot maintain the canal. Unless you stop firing, I will not go to let water come to you. So he was, a defensive. He said, okay, we'll stop firing. I said, no, you've got to prove to me over the next 3 months, if a single shot is fired from your side, when cattle are going to graze or people are going to go there, water will not flow into you. So he said, so I promise you. And they gave an agreement. It was a one day, so they signed an agreement to say that no firing will take place in the area where canals are done that. We said, okay. So we waited for 30 days, they would not fire, and we did everything we wanted to improve our defenses, we did everything. And then we let a little bit of water, which was channel, flow through into Pakistan, which was also irrigating our fields, so we repaired it. So these are the kind of things which happen in war, where you got to deal with them. And we got advantageous position because they could no longer fire at us, because the moment they fire, we stop the water.
Right.
So they were quiet, and the villagers were putting pressure on them.
So that was a negotiation tool.
Yeah. One more incident come to my mind, as a young officer, not young, it was a young major. We were training in deserts of Rajasthan, actually in Bardmer. And I'm talking about the early 80s, where Bardmer was absolutely a desert. It was a very tough desert also. There was no water anywhere. We had, with 40-50 troops, traveling from a place to place B. So we must have done about 15-20 kilometers in the desert, and we were all tired and thirsty. And as happens, we were 30-40, about 45-50 troops, and few were Rajasthani troops. They said we kept guiding them at night, so there was no water. So we were all very thirsty. We had very little water left. So he said, let's go. Somebody said there's a village here. We call them Dhani in Rajasthan. Dhani means a group of cluster of 20-30 huts. So he said there's a Dhani there in the map. So we trudged along to it. Absolutely tired, reached the Dhani there. And an old Rajasthani man, along with 2-3 people sitting there, they greeted us because we all uniformed. So we said, we come to say hello to you in an army. We need some water. So they looked at each other. They went inside. They talked to each other. They said, okay, you can have water. I said, fine. So I told my troops, please go and take the water, because they had a well. So these 2 Rajasthani boys who were also in my company, they went to get the water, and they came back, and he pointed towards me that he wants to talk to me alone. I said, okay, what's the problem? So he took me aside and tells me, sir, they are prepared to give water, but I've seen that well. If we take that water, these people will be thirsty for the next 3 days. Because the water is all for 3 days, because the water seeps up. And there was enough water that every day that water comes up, they have now got for 2 days. With 40-50 troops, they drink water. These people are going to have without water, but they're still offering it. So I said, that's very sad. So I said, no, we'll not take the water. But he said, the troops are very thirsty. Next place is 10 kilometers away. I said, we are still soldiers. We're all tough. We are young people. We can walk 10 kilometers, but look at these poor people. They're offering the water. And yet they know that in 3 days, the water will dry up. But to keep safe, we took about 2-3 liters of water to make them feel happy. We all, typically wet our lips to keep it going. Gave them what food we had, thanked them, and we walked 10 kilometers away and got to a bigger place where you could pick up some water. That is the kind of shortage of water. That's the kind of respect for water one has to have when you're in the forces. And the lessons kept coming to me. Must respect water, must conserve it, must use it well. It must be respected that water is a source of life. And all soldiers have learned this very well.
Hats off, sir. Hats off. And since you mentioned Rajasthan, how do the armies ensure safe drinking water for soldiers who are in the hostile conditions, like the troops in the Siachen Glaciers or the deserts of Rajasthan, like you said? How do you manage it?
See, there are two, three things to it. First is that we try and look for a place where there should be some water source at all. We always keep looking for springs, and we also look for a water source where the local populace will not be denied with it. That's the important factor which I keep telling you. And then we put our troops along that. But when we still don't have water, we generally find water which is not drinkable. We call it potable, not potable water.
Not potable.
Then we got some medicines which are called liquid, which you can put in the water, put in the bottle, and the water can get purified and drink it. But some places the water is so bad that it can't be drunk also. Then we only use it for washing and cleaning. But some places there is no water, yet you got to have troops. Like I told you, that places like Siachen. Now, we are at 14,000, 18,000, 19,000 feet, and the water source is about 7 hours away walking up and down. So what do? So we use snow to drink water. And we melt the snow to drink water. But it sounds easy, but it's not simple. I'll tell you why. The normal snow comes in two ways. It's a dry snow and a wet snow. The dry snow comes up when the weather is very cold. It's above freezing or below freezing point, much below. Even the follicles in the air freeze. And the flaky snow which comes up is very, very thin and very flaky snow which collects. Now when you pick up that snow, nearly 20 liters of snow is required to get a liter of water. There's no water in it. It's a dry snow. But the wet snow does have water, but still it's about 1:10, 1:6. So huge amount of snow is required to pick up a little bit of water, and then you got to boil it and drink it. And it's not easy to boil snow. When you put it in a pot, because it's so cold, it burns the pot. So first you got to have at least an inch of water, which you must always have, to put it at the bottom of it, so snow floats and the snow becomes melted, and then only can you apply heat for the snow to come up. And sometimes troops try to eat snow. It is very dangerous because what happens is that he's very thirsty. He pick up snow and eat it because it blisters the mouth, and if it's a dry snow, it will go to hurt you more. So it is don't do it. Then they put it in a polythene bag, put it on the body, and wait for an hour or so. Then the snow starts melting with the heat of the body, and then they will take a sip of water with that, and that becomes how. So survival with water there becomes one of the very important parts, and what it is. I must share with you that when I was in J&K, sometimes when you're on the line of control, there's a place where you must hold tactically. When you use the word tactically, from the army point of view, it's important that I sit here because I can dominate my enemy or I can dominate whoever it is, but does not have water. Now, my dilemma is, should I leave this place and go to a place which is not strategically so important, but yet it has got access to water? So this great tussle goes on in the mind. So then you decide how far is the water. And believe me, sometimes we go and sit down here, knowing fully well water is about 5 hours away, and half the troops, go down in the morning, early morning, pick up 20 liters of water and come up 5 hours, bring it up to that post, and then again we have mules which carry water up so the troops can sit, because we have to hold that place. So water-wise, we put the places where to put water. In fact, in some places, in Siachen and some areas, we airdrop water by helicopters. The helicopter comes on top, we have jerry can tied, we bring them down, and 20 liters of water come and we can survive, the patrol can survive, because water is coming in helicopter. That's the kind of lessons required for the use of water by the armed forces.
Wow. And so how critical is water management when you're planning a long-term military operation?
It is very critical. So what we do is that we calculate the number of liters of water minimum required per person per day. Let's say we calculate that for drinking, washing, and for eating, 20 liters of water per day is tabulated for every human being. So if you got, let's say, 10,000 troops, that means we need 2 lakh liters of water per day. Now, where is that water? Is it available in the stream? It can be purified, it has to be brought from the back. We have to think about that. In Rajasthan areas, we run water trains, containers, the big, you see where the tankers are there, they're full of water, and they're a train carrying 20 wagons full of water. We'll go and dump it at a place and create a water tank, artificial water tank. Once that has been created and we find enough water available for 3 days reserve, only then we'll put the troops inside, because we shouldn't be caught without water, and then the troops can be, whatever happens. So it's a very important part of logistic planning to how the water is reaching there, by mules, by camels, by air, by trains, by tankers, by what the water bowsers, 10 liters, we take them around. But the biggest problem has been from where to get the water. If you go and get from ground, you're depleting the source. You go in from village, you're denying them the place. So you've got to make sure that you also take water which is also not affecting the local populace. So that comes in a lot into planning. But water plays a very important part in how to put the army, where to deploy them, how to make sure the water is there, and we check that out. And we have engineers branch which only deals with water. They dig tube wells, they dig bore wells, they take out water, test it, taste it, purify it, then say, okay, please come, and then we go and deploy there and use the water in that form.
So, but sir, what happens if the troops are constantly moving from base to base? How do you manage the water supply in a dynamic situation like that?
See, it's like this. Firstly, I said troops have to be self-contained in water. So if I'm carrying 2 liters of water, there are also what we call water shuttles. The people carry about 10 to 20 liters of water as water carriers. That is one. Then in the rear echelons, we call them, we have water carriers, water vehicles, if they can reach there, if in Bozas, or if the water can't reach there, then mules, camels, something, water must reach up to them. So when we plan our resupply, we say food so much, ammunition so much, water so much. Unless we can reach that water, we cannot do that. So if you're moving 10 kilometers away, we must make sure that water is there. Or we are already aware that water is there. We send patrols in advance to check if water is there. But if enemy country, then we carry water self-contained and make sure water from rear comes up to us, they'll do that. But troops have been trained so much to live without water that they can do 24 hours without water, 48 hours without water. But if it's the weather, okay. Otherwise, like I said, they will take 2 sips of water, go 4 hours, take 2 sips of water, go out, till the water is brought up to them. So it's a very big struggle to keep place. But like I said, troops come from very hardy areas, Rajasthan, Haryana. I was telling you the story of water shortage in the place where we visited there. You'll be surprised to know that in lots of places in Rajasthan and Haryana, girls do not marry into the villages because that village reputation is bad for water. If that village's water supply is more than so much distance away, where the bride has to walk 6 to 8 hours to get water, she will not marry into that village. So there's so many villages in Haryana and Rajasthan, now of course getting better, which are known as no Pani villages. So they wouldn't get brides only. So they used to, always crib, you can't get brides. Or if they got brides, the bride would run away after some time because they would be so badly tired using what they are. And the bridegroom was not seen how rich he is. If the bridegroom had a camel which could go and get water, he was a better candidate. Or he had a small truck from where he could get water. He was a better candidate than a guy who was richer but doesn't have source of water. So they would not get married. And also I must share with you that, have you heard of the word of Pani Bai?
Pani Bai?
Yeah.
No.
Pani Bai is a custom of polygamy in India, where men get married to 4 to 5 women, and those women are water carriers only. They are known as Pani Bais. So he marries a lady who is his wife, then he marries 3-4 more women as an informal kind of polygamy, widows or women who are alone, or disadvantaged women, let's say from children who can't get married. He ties a typical kind of a marriage, but the role is only to go in the morning to fetch water and come back every day. 2-3 ladies, the only job is this, they spend their life coming and getting water while husband and wife. And they're actually not really wives, but they're called wives. They do a little ritual of marriage, but they're called as Pani Bais. And they marry because of water only. So water has become very instinct part of the Indian culture and nation, a shortage of water. And those places which have lots of water, they don't understand this. But certain places of India which are passed by water have learned this importance of water, and how they live with it.
So it's not just water, it's the access also to water which is so important.
See, the point is it has to be available, it has to be accessible.
Yes.
Accessible within a human's range. Now it's 12 hours away. You can't go and pick it up on your back and do that. In fact, I'll send it to you, there are folk songs of Rajasthan which are just meant around water. And the folk song goes, I can remember one of it I was reading when I came in that. I just got married, my hands are delicate, and I can't go and fetch the water because it's difficult for me to carry. My husband is very nice to me. He has made a silken rope with flowers on it so I can pull water from it, from the well, and he can remember that my hands can be there. Yet I remember my father, whose water was only 4 hours away, and I could bring it there. So lots of, water has become a source of life for lots of people.
That is true, sir. In fact, there are people who believe that water will probably become the reason for World War III if it was to ever happen. So what would you say about that, sir?
I'm not sure that it's going to be the reason. My feeling is going to be a contributing factor. Already, you're getting tension built up upon it because of various other factors. And then water becomes another source to add fuel to the fire because it's a very important part. And because it's very emotive, you can get a lot of people behind you. Let's say you are fighting a war against A and B country, and water is you're fighting for. 90% of the population will come and support you. They may not understand any other reason, but because you go to fight for water and get them water, the whole nation will come behind you. So a lot of political people use water as a motive battle. Lots of places and states also will get Pani, and Pani ke liye will fight. So I think the war may start for many reasons, but water will become one of the contributing factors where it can lead to a quick war, because there's a lot of push for people to come, let's fight it, let's pick up the water if we can fight it. So that is the worry which we've got, and could be that could start. I hope it doesn't happen, but it could happen. You're
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely. So I understand that for the last 10 years, you've been actively involved with a social enterprise which is dedicated to providing safe, clean water to the underserved communities in India. Can you share more about this experience?
I certainly will. I tell you what, after retirement, like I said, I was always, doing a lot of things, but I was still looking for a mission in life, because having, like I said, served all my life with troops of the rural areas, I was very much aware of their concerns, of their problems. I've been to the villages, stayed with them, spent a lot of time with them. So I'm very deeply involved with them. So I didn't know what to do with them. So once I came across this very fabulous initiative known as Janajal, which aim was to provide the last meter connectivity to people. And the philosophy of that company was to make, firstly, water should be available, secondly, it should be accessible, and thirdly, it should be affordable. So it was a very great triad which I thought was the right thing to do, where you are concerned that people, underprivileged people, are not getting clean drinking water. And they're drinking water which is making their families and children sick. They don't know. 70% of their money is gone into looking after gastro problems of the children, and they're without water. So this Janajal thought, if I can solve this problem of making water available to them, making accessible to them, and give it to them in a manner that they could afford it. Because 50 rupees a litre or 20 rupees a litre of water was not something which you could think about. They would rather die or put the children through, sewage water than to afford that, because they couldn't do that. But when you make water accessible to them or available to them which they can afford, they would rather avoid eating something wrong and give water. Milk is to be given up at the cost of a good drinking water. So when I was introduced on this organization, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Agarwal, who started it, I was fascinated by the fact that you are able to give back to the people who deserve it. And what more purer than water? The safest thing, from Vedic times, water has failed such an important part. But if you can use water, do social work, and give back to the people, and make it sustainable, it was a brilliant idea. And I loved it. From first day onwards, I got involved with it. I wanted to support it. I gave what I could in terms of not much, but I still find it one of the most fascinating ideas to give back to the community water, which is the life. So give back life to them at affordable cost. So to me, that's a brilliant plan. I hope it succeeds and touches the hearts of lots of people.
Absolutely, sir. You seem to be connected with water from the very beginning, from the root. So is there a message you'd like to give our viewers?
The message I like to give everybody is that, remember, water is one thing which is colorless. It has no color. It doesn't have saffron color, it doesn't have green color, it doesn't have blue color, it does not have red color of blood, of religion. God has made it colorless for the very reason that you must adopt it together. We must share this water. Water must be a bond to join. It must not be a bond to split. If it was, the water would have lots of color. So the colorless commodity, which is a source of life, 70% of our body is water. So we must all respect water, love water, do not vaporize water, and share water. Water must be something which should be like a nature's gift to us. Water is also, like I said to you, that right to life means, and right to food means, this is right to life. Without water, you're not there. So what is the question of right to life till you do not give them accessible drinking water to your children? And it's for us to make sure that our future generations also get this water. And therefore, preserving water, creating water, making accessible is the duty of every human being. If he wants to do social service, if he loves people, then this colorless thing, which has really got the soul of everybody, must be given to them.
Beautifully expressed, sir. Beautifully expressed. We will move on to a rapid fire round of questions. Rapid fire sounds a little, apt or silly.
For me, it's okay. I want to be rapid fire.
But what is harder, sir? Strategy or execution?
I would say execution.
Okay. It starts raining mid-mission. What would you say? Take cover or keep moving?
No, keep moving because that's the very best cover to fight in. In fact, the Normandy battle took place when the weather was very bad. And people think it will not take place. Like I said, Alexander crossed over the Hypatus River when it started raining very heavily. Because that's the best time to do it. Must keep going.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Every soldier is permitted the same amount of water. Is that true?
Absolutely. The water bottle given to all officers, from a general down to Jawan, is same. It's about 750 liters. Water bottle is full with it and do that. Yet, officers are offered water. I must tell you a story. When I was in the desert, like I was telling you, a young officer, there was no water there. And after a full day's march, I was absolutely tired and reached my camp. There was a small little tent made there. As an officer, I was a senior most, they made a tent. And my Sahayak, the person who looks after me, suddenly brought a little mat and put it there. And he said, sir, would you like to have a bath? I said, what are you talking about? And he had a jerry can of water, about 20 liters of water. He said, from where? He said he had walked 3 hours to get water so the Saab to have a bath in.
Oh.
So I did not remember Alexander, but I said, no way I'm going to have a bath with this water because it looked to me, it was not correct to do so. So we didn't have a bath with that. So therefore, all officers, all men get the same quantity of water and they preserve it together, do it together. When we have lots of water, we go and have a bath, we have a splash, we go under a waterfall. But when there's shortage of water, all of us must have the same water.
Of course.
That's true.
Of course. Sir, if not in uniform, what would you have been?
If not in uniform. In fact, I don't think myself ever going to be out of uniform. I don't know. Perhaps I would have been in the foreign service or the administrative service. That's something which I have thought about. Just some service to the nation. I would love to do something, some adventure. But I just cannot, like I said, I'm retired. For me, energy, passion to do something constantly. Every morning I wake up, must do something. For me, that's the meaning of life.
How beautiful. Which is a tougher terrain, snow or sea?
I would say sea because I'm a soldier and I've been much to sea. I love snow. One can fight there, one can handle it. For me, snow is an ally, a friend. You can use it to defeat the enemy and you can be strong. Sea is something which, sea,
Okay.
more difficult than snow.
Fair enough. And what is the biggest risk to water supply during a war? Contamination, scarcity or sabotage?
I would say sabotage and contamination and third in that order.
Okay.
Scarcity we can handle, but sabotage is something which takes place quite often and contamination can take place quite easily. So that would be the second.
Okay. And what is the one thing that you wish civilians understood about soldiers?
One thing which civilians should understand about soldiers is that they fight for you and you should be worthy of them. I may tell you a quote of a general who said, a nation which does not respect its dead, soldiers dead, martyrs, is a nation not worth fighting for. Similarly, I should say to the nation that you love your soldiers, be worthy of them. Make them feel that they're fighting for somebody who deserves to be fought for. If I fight and die and I find the person I'm fighting for is not worth it, then my energy and my motivation is gone. I must be proud to fight for them. That's my message to them.
Absolutely fair, sir. Absolutely. And before we let you go, sir, we have something small for you that we would like to give. So this is a big water device. It's an air purifier.
Oh, this is very smart.
Yes, it's an air purifier, and Big Water will also donate 1,000 liters of water on your behalf, sir, to the underserved communities in India.
That's brilliant.
That is.
This is really win-win. You're purifying the air, you're giving free water, and you're making it sustainable and even beneficial to people. Wow, this is a brilliant idea. It covers all the bases. Purifies the air, gives water to people, and makes them earn some money also. What could be better than the win-win-win?
Absolutely, sir.
Well done.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you for taking out time and joining us on Waterlogues today. Thank you, sir.
I'm delighted to be here. And like I said, water is the source of life. Please continue to do the good work. So delighted to meet you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And thank you all for joining in and being a part of Waterlogues. Stay tuned. Know your water. Love your water. Cheers, guys.